Hi everyone, my name is Angelo and I'm back with my 5 tips for gardening. Tip number 1 is talking about your nursery. So this brand new Rise Garden nursery that we launched recently, you see is a lot thinner. It can hold only 4 pods at a time, but it is really great for growing and is way better than our old nursery. You want to make sure that this dome stays on the entirety of all 4 pods growth. If you see one start growing but the other one hasn't germinated yet, keep it on until all 4 pods have germinated, or you can confirm that one of these pods just isn't working out and you can replace it. When you are growing in this nursery and you have your lid on, you create a high humidity, high temperature environment that is fantastic for germination. Seeds love that sort of thing. The next thing you want to think about is your water level. So we have this max fill line that is actually embedded into the design of the nursery itself. And why that is we want to protect you from overfilling and flooding your seeds or letting your seeds dry out. You should be checking your nursery every single day to make sure that your plants have sprouted. If you wait too long, your seeds can grow very stringy and they grow more stems than things like leaves, which is what you probably want to eat on the plant. The next thing that I want to talk about is cleaning your nursery. So every single week you should be refreshing your nursery. That means once a week pouring out the water inside and refilling it with fresh cold tap water. Note, never ever ever add nutrients to your nursery. Your pods contain a small amount of organic nutrients inside of them that will support the initial growth stages of this plant. Next, I want to talk about where to put your nursery. Once you have your nursery all set up, you should put it under the lights of your garden. Because it is so thin, it will fit anywhere along the perimeter as well as on top of your service door where you add nutrients, and at each level there's a service door. If you have a 1-level garden, it is advised that you get some books or something to elevate it, because you want to make sure that there's a minimum of 6 inches between the lights and your seed pods. If you have an extension level, put it up there preferably, but you can really put your nursery anywhere underneath the lights. You want to make sure that it's not being blocked by any leaves, so that your plants get lots of light when they first sprout. Now, when they first sprout, you need to move them into your garden. And when you do that, you come to my next tip number 2, which is thinning. So thinning is actually pulling out your plants until you only have 1 left. Now, why would you want to do this? So for large plants like tomatoes and kale, you actually want to leave just 1 plant, because these plants get very large and they start to compete for light if they're crowded and they have multiple plants in 1 pod. Now, for things like cilantro, this isn't really an issue because those plants are so small. You don't need to worry about them competing. They'll kind of just move out of the way of each other. If you have any concerns about thinning and you're not sure which plants you need to thin and which plants you don't, check your app. Go inside to every single plant profile and it will tell you if you need to thin that plant. This thinning stage happens when you are moving it from the nursery into your garden. There should be plenty of time for multiple plants to sprout, and you can pick the best plant to survive. So moving on to my 3rd tip, which is planning ahead. So you've grown your plants and you've put them in and they've grown, and now you're ready to harvest again. My best tip for planning ahead is thinking into the future on when you're harvesting and when you are restarting your nursery. If I'm about to harvest this lettuce in about a week, I want to today start new lettuce plants so that when I harvest these, they can go right in. What that's gonna do is it's gonna maximize your growth and minimize the empty spots in your garden. It is always best to start your plants in your nursery, as your humidity dome and the small volume of water inside your nursery is best for germination. If you try and germinate your plugs inside the garden just by popping them in there, it might work, but on most plants, it's not going to grow as fast, or it might not even germinate 100%. Once you have planned ahead and put them in, now you start need to thinking about removing these plants. So if you look inside your app, every single plant has a remove plant stage. This is at the end of their life. Why we have this stage is because as plants grow above your trays and they can start to hit the lights, which can be bad, and start growing outside of your garden, underneath their root system is also growing. You want to make sure that your root system doesn't get too large, because it can start competing for things like nutrients and actually water as well underneath your trays, as well as start to grow down into your drain, which is not good. Not good. Do not want plant roots reaching all the way down into your pump. I've seen it before and it's not good. So now once you've removed some plants, you might look and see that your water is a little gunked up. It might have some brown stuff in it. Usually that is your plant pods breaking down a little bit, or it can be broken down roots, or it can actually be nutrients that build up. So as plants grow, they actually consume different nutrients at different rates. So a plant like a tomato, which is going to take up a bunch of nitrogen, might not take up so much boron, which is a micronutrient. And over time, this boron, as you keep adding Thrive, will just keep building up. And so we recommend that you deep clean your garden every 4 to 5 months so that you can avoid these micronutrient buildups. When we say deep clean, we really just mean removing all of the water from your garden. Now, every single tray level has about 2 gallons, and your water tank can hold around 4 to 5 gallons. So that's a lot of water that can be holding all this nutrients. So you really want to try hard to remove as much water as possible. It's also a really good time to scrub the inside of your trays, take apart your plumbing and rinse that out as well as check on your pump and your pump filter. All of those things are super duper necessary for growing well, and those are my 5 top tips. Thank you so much for listening, and if you do have any more questions on growing, reach out to us at support@risegardens.com, and we will be sure to try and answer all of your questions. Thank you.